Hello, hello! Welcome to this online case study. This is Michael Maven from Carter Kingsley, and today I'm going to be taking you through a case study of how we used one persuasion and influence mind trick to grow client revenue by more than $130,000 a month, okay? And we did that without any extra spending on ads or traffic or bringing any, even one more person to the website, okay? Traffic levels were the same and revenue went up. I'm going to take you through the case study. It's going to be quite detailed. I'm going to show you all the mind tricks we used and all the basis, the history of those mind tricks and how we applied and used them today, and also how you can use them as well yourself, okay, to see increases in revenue on your own website. Now, my goal today is a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to walk you step by step through this case study so that you can see the method that we're using to grow revenue for companies, and also learn how to do it yourselves. But I do have a sneaky motivation behind this all. Okay, I want to wow you with so much info over the course of this case study that you actually feel obligated to reach out to me and my team, and you want us to help you set this up for yourself as well. Okay, and now that's me being straight up there, so that's the plan. All right. Now let me just introduce myself. My name is Michael Maven. You might have seen some of my articles online before, or interviews and things like that. So here's me. I was the focus of a Forbes article. There's me in another Forbes article alongside Richard Branson. I've been mentioned in all of these publications, or I've either written articles for them or been asked to share there. The actual success article I wrote was actually shared more than 5,000 times, in fact. So I think they said it was that's equivalent to more than 100,000 readers on that article alone. Okay, I'm the author of the Scientific Marketing Codex and Get Better Customers Now. You can find them both on Amazon. And here's an example of some of the companies that follow our work, like Sequoia Capital, who've made literally billions of dollars investing in companies such as Apple, PayPal, Google, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, things like that. And respected Silicon Valley investor Andrew Chen also reads my content online. You can see there's a post that he actually shared on Twitter. Fortune magazine has very kindly called me part of the most thoughtful and influential people in America's startup scene. Here's a picture of myself and some of my mentors. There's Dan Kennedy on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side there's Andre Chaperone and Mark Thompson, and you can see us there on a night out when we were having lots of fresh water. I also occasionally give talks and actually teach people how to understand biopsychology and use influence to, ethically persuade people to purchase things. Here's an invite I received to speak at a digital marketing strategy innovation in Hong Kong, where there was speakers from Siemens, Universal Music Group, Cigna, and other big companies like that. And, so that's just roughly to give you an idea of who I am and the kind of people who follow my work. So I want to start off with a confession today, okay? I have done some things right, and that's kind of led to some of the successes I've just shown you, but I've also done a lot of things wrong, okay? I've made plenty of mistakes, okay? I basically get to stand on the shoulders of giants and, implement what I learned. And now I'm kind of blessed to be able to bring you this information so you can grow revenue as well, okay? So with that said, let's start off with today's case study. Now, we've used this tactic many times, and every time we use it, the results completely blow our minds, okay? We wrote about it briefly once, and we actually got a message from Neil Patel, and he asked us if we would share online. So, of course, we said we'd love to. So, here's something that you can literally take and use it in your business starting tonight, okay? We'll be as detailed as possible. This advanced tactic is called a decoy method. It's actually used for influencing people and making them choose the option that you prefer them to pick. So yes, it is extremely sneaky. It's also a very useful tool in any influencer's arsenal. So it was originally found and researched by the famous psychologist, you might have heard of him, called Dan Ariely, after he saw an ad for The Economist. And we simply took that idea and turned it into an applicable website split test. Now, to make this more digestible, this video is split into two sections. Okay, first of all, I'm going to explain a base idea that you kind of need to understand, and then I'll build upon that idea. Now, you'll see exact details of how we use this specific experimental split test to increase a client's sales by £83,000, and that's more than $130,000, I believe. And we only used a single split test. Okay. Firstly, you need to understand a concept we invented at Carter Kingsley called paleo marketing. The name comes from the behavior ingrained in us during the Paleolithic period, around 10,000 years ago. Paleomarketing is tied to the basis of why we do certain things today. And if you understand why we took certain actions in the past, you can influence the outcome of future human behavior. As an example, the way our bodies work today are pretty much how our bodies worked 10,000 years ago. So an example is that people think that eating fat makes us fat, but it doesn't. Eating sugar is what makes us fat, okay? But by the way, eating fat will clog your arteries though, okay? But that's the common belief. And the reason this happens is because back when our ancestors were hunters, food was scarce. Meat and vegetables were basically the staple diet, and sugar was hardly ever around. But on the odd occasion, when we may have found a beehive or a natural supply of sugary fruits, our bodies recognized that this was a rare moment. So our bodies then go on to kind of store, they went on to store that sugar as fat because it was such a rare source of nourishment. So when we eat sugar, the body instantly produces a spike in insulin, which then instructs our cells to store this sugary energy as fat for later use. Now, the funny thing is, our bodies still do this today, but now sugar is freely available all over the place, but our bodies don't really know this. And so, our bodies haven't evolved quickly enough to react to all the free sugar that's available today. So today, sugar remains a primary cause of obesity all around the world. So just like our bodies, the way our brain works today is very much like how our brain worked 10,000 years ago. For example, if you see a horror film, you might jump, even though you know you're not in any real danger. But, you can't really help but jump because a long time ago, if there was a threat, you had to react, or, you got to react really quickly and run away fast. Otherwise, you might get killed by a big bear or a tiger or whatever danger there is, okay? The reptilian part of your brain that kind of looks out for danger, it's always on, okay? And if it sees a threat, it will get you to react and get you moving really, really quickly, okay? The point is that your brain still works in the same way today as it did all those years ago. Now, it's important to remember the ability to jump when we're scared is not learnt behavior, okay? We didn't learn that behavior. We're not taught it. It's ingrained into our bodies. When a baby hears a loud sound or something like that, the baby will jump, okay? Because it's an ingrained behavior that's in our system. We're not taught it. We don't learn it. It's just there from the moment we're born. Now, this is quite interesting because I've just given you an insight into every human brain on Earth. Okay. Now, do you think that being able to see a tiny glimpse into every human mind is useful when you're trying to sell to humans? Of course it is. Okay. Now, there are many other things that are simply ingrained into our bodies and brains, and if we can identify them or learn about what they are, then we can use that knowledge, that information, to market to people and influence their decisions. One of the things that our brains can't do is understand and process a single item by itself, okay? So if our ancestors were given a single stone, they wouldn't really know if it was useful or not. And then if we changed it and gave them a single black pearl, they still wouldn't really know whether to keep it or throw it away. In order to make life easier, we adapted. And how do we do that? How do you think we did that? We learnt to compare. So now our ancestors started looking around and comparing. And when they compared one, a grey stone with a shiny black pearl, they would instantly be able to see which one they liked and which one they didn't. They learnt to find what was valuable and what wasn't by comparing one item with a similar item. So let me give you a quick demonstration. Take a look at this blue button. Is the button here that you see on the screen right now, is it big or is it small? And how do you know for sure? The truth is, if you're looking at the blue button on its own, you don't really know a real true answer, okay? Now look at the next button. This time, you should agree that the blue button itself is big, all right? And it looks big because it's the biggest shape out of all the available shapes. Now look at what happens when you look at the next picture. Now the blue button looks small because it's now the smallest shape in the diagram. Now, if you ask a child these exact questions, you might be quite amused to see them, keep changing their answers around from big to small, like that. But if you look at the next diagram, you'll see that both of these buttons are exactly the same size, okay? Now, what happened is that the addition of the surrounding circles changed your perception of the button size. Even now that I've told you what's happening, it's still quite difficult to look at one of the buttons above and genuinely think anything apart from the first button is a big blue button and the second version is a small blue button. All right, it's just the way that your mind works. Okay, so now you know why exactly you compare things, how your mind compares things, exactly how important it is to compare things, and how comparing works when you're making choices. Now, it's not always so easy to compare things, okay? Comparing the previous blue buttons, that was a simple thing. We were only comparing circles with other circles, so the differences were very clear. But sometimes it's not so easy to compare one thing with another. For example, it's not easy to compare a brown bear with a red car. But like we saw previously with the blue button, comparing a brown bear with a black bear is a lot more simpler for us. The key thing to remember is that comparing two similar things is easy, and comparing two very different items is much harder, as there is less to directly compare against. Once you know this basic information, you can actually use it to influence people's decisions. Think back to the brown bear versus red car example I just told you, okay? Now, imagine that you have a similar difficult choice on your website. Remember, we're trying to influence the decision that people make, and we do this by introducing a decoy as a third fictional choice, okay? It's almost like a fake option. Now, this third decoy choice is purposely made to be an obvious, poorer version of one of the choices. This makes it simple for you to compare the poor and more easily comparable decoy choice with one of the earlier options. The result is that you end up picking the more attractive choice as the most attractive of all three options, okay? Now, I know that sounds complex, but I'm going to give you a visual demonstration of this in just a second. The sneaky part here is that even though it's offered as a choice, you never actually expect the decoy choice to be picked, okay? So let's look at a visual demonstration. Now, it's infamously difficult to choose between apples and oranges, okay? They just can't be compared very easily. If I asked you to pick the best one between an apple and an orange, it's a difficult choice to make. But if you introduce a third decoy option, something very interesting happens, okay? So if we try to pick compare an apple versus an orange, the choice is quite difficult, okay? But let's say we add in a rotten apple as a decoy, okay? If you do that, you can now easily compare the rotten apple with the good apple, and that also makes the good apple seem better than the orange as well, okay? So it seems like the apple is the best choice out of the three, whereas over here in this bottom example, if we add a decoy option of a rotten orange, then it's now easy to compare these two together, the rotten orange with the good orange, and it makes the good orange seem like the best choice overall. So most of the time the good orange gets picked, okay? And that's kind of how the introduction of a decoy makes a specific option more attractive, okay? So what we're doing here is actually influencing people's choices by the addition of this sneaky decoy option, okay? So let me show you how this works on a website. So here's a recreation of an A/B split test that we ran for this client, okay? They've actually allowed us to share specific information for this case study, so we're very grateful for that. Now, if you look at this first box, version 1, this is what the payment area looked like before we helped. And you can see it's got two choices, okay? So at this time, the bronze package for £99 was chosen by 63% of all buyers, okay? So how did we improve the results? Well, we decided to add a third sneaky decoy option to this list of two options, okay? And we did this by creating a new option, which was just like how I showed you before with the fruits, the apples and oranges, we added a lesser version, okay? The gold package for sale on its own. But to make it easily comparable, we had to add in the sneaky part, okay? And we did this by offering the gold package alone here for just £199, okay? So it's the exact same price as the bronze and the gold package, okay? And you can see this here if we compare the two boxes together, okay? So what does this do? Okay, well, people now have two items here together that they can compare to each other very easily, okay? Because we've made them both the exact same price. Okay, so we don't actually expect anyone to buy the gold package alone, because you can actually get the bronze and the gold package for the exact same price. Okay, so the gold price here, the gold option, is actually the sneaky decoy. So what happened? Okay, did it make a difference? Did a larger percent of people now buy the higher priced and better option just because they could easily compare it and see what was the best option? Well, in a nutshell, yes, it did work. Okay, you can see before 63% of buyers chose the bronze option alone. Now only 21% of buyers chose the bronze option. Okay, and before where 37% of buyers chose the gold and the bronze option, now 79% of all buyers chose the bronze and the gold option. Now, this is happening because visitors can now easily compare the gold package alone for £199 with the option of getting the bronze and the gold package for the same price, basically. Now, this made the bronze and the gold package look much better than the gold package alone. And as if by magic, it also makes the bronze and the gold package much more attractive than just the bronze package alone for £99. You can see that sales of the bronze and the gold package went from 37% to 79% of all buyers. And the proof that the sneaky decoy is actually working is if you look up here, you can see that nobody actually chose to buy the sneaky decoy option by itself. So it's exactly the same as before. Obviously, when it wasn't an option, no one bought it, and when it was an option, no one bought it then either. The effect of adding this sneaky decoy choice here has simply been that more people now buy the bronze and the gold option compared to before, when only 37% of people bought it. More people now 79% of people buy it. Okay, and that is an actual increase of 114% in sales of the bronze and the gold package, which is what the objective was here. So across roughly 50,000 visitors, this boosted sales of the bronze and the gold package from £73,630 to £157,210. So that's a boost of £83,580 in sales of the bronze and the gold package alone. Okay, and it was all done with one single split test. Okay, and remember, we haven't even taken the sales of the bronze package into account yet. Okay, although obviously we know the final numbers, but I can tell you that this strategy puts you in a much stronger position against your competition when you're buying advertising and other ways to use your ad spend for lead generation and things like that. The total cost to get an extra £83,000 in sales was absolutely zero. Okay, there was no extra advertising, there was no more phone calls that were needed. We didn't have to pound the pavement for a longer time, or send any extra smoke signals to the next village to find new customers. Okay, there was nothing like that. Okay, all we did was a simple optimization of the existing business, and there are plenty more optimizations that can still be done. Okay, so needless to say, this is why we love split testing, and this is why you should love it too. Okay, if you want us to grow your revenue, or even just talk to us and have a look at what you're doing, get in touch right now. Okay, you can email us at contact@progressyourprofits.com. Okay, so just email us today at contact@progressyourprofits.com and get in touch and we'll get back to you. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. I genuinely hope you did find that interesting. This is Michael Maven for Carter and Kingsley.